My name is Paul Milburn. I was in Wedgwood House, left in 1969, work at Delco Electronics now, and I was in Wedgwood.
Liz Smith, I was in Wedgwood House, started in 1979, left in 1986. I work in Alder Hay, in the lab by chemistry department, been there since I left school.
Alan Doyle, with the last sixth form. I'm now teaching in Hertfordshire, and there's a few of us here this evening, and if you pan around I'll tell you what everybody's doing at the moment. We've got Joanne Roscoe, she's a microbiologist at Kodak on the industrial estate. Over here we have Anthony Wilson, he actually designs fighter aircraft in aerospace. He was in West Telford, along with myself.
Darwin.
Joe was in Darwin. Over here we have Rob Black, who's Chief Sales
Chandler.
I'm Janet Davidson. I left school in 1982, was in Shackleton House. I'm now doing an aerobics course in Bankfield College. I've got 3 little boys, 2 of them go to Ruffwood, Lee and Raymond Williams.
Ex-caretaker, left the house 18 years ago, retired now. I still keep in touch sometimes. I was a member of the PTA, one of the first members in House Block, Wedgwood and Telford.
Mother of Ken and Graham, we're in Wedgwood and Telford. Bert and I were on the PTA. We've done a lot. We got the pupils' lockers and we held great dances. Got very fond memories of Ruffwood School.
I left school in 1980. I was in Shackleton.
My name's Eddie Trainer. I'm currently a policeman in Grimsby. This girl here is Tracy Allen.
Tina Allen.
Oh, Tina Allen, sorry. Long time. We used to play rugby together, believe it or not. And I tell you what, she's a better passer of a ball now than ever. And I've missed her bloody load. And guess where she's living? She's living in Grimsby, near me.
Hey, just round the corner.
Just round the corner.
I'm Lindsay Jackson. I was in Wedgwood House. This is my friend David Dowries. And now I'm a staff nurse for children. And I absolutely love Ruffwood.
Hi, I'm Bill Rimmer. I went to Ruffwood in 1959, left in 1966. I was in Shakespeare House, and I'm now a teacher in Ruffwood. My sins.
Very little voice left because I've just gone back teaching. I'm at Range High School. I was at Ruffwood from 65 till 77. Assistant head of Telford House and then head of PE before I went on. I'm still the head of house, still in Formby and still looking for retirement.
My name was Doc Harness. I left in 1975. I work as a shop assistant now and I'm a housewife.
I left in around about 84, was in Shackleton House and had a great time while I was there.
Christine Williams, I'm now Christine Carter. Married Ian Carter, who was here as well. In 1974 we started, we were here for about 7 years. And I'm working as a secretary in Birmingham now, living in Lichfield. Just come back to say hello to anybody who will recognise from my old class.
My name is Philip Jones. I'm now 49 years of age. I was at Ruffwood School from age 11 to 15 in 61-65. Sadly, I left without any qualifications in 1965, so unfortunately I didn't go for my O-levels. But I did carry on with life, and through the experiences that I got at Ruffwood, and particularly the influences of the school teachers, I now own a business with a turnover of £60 million a year.
My name is Julie Watson. I left in 82. I was also in Fleming, and I'm now a contracts manager, contracts compliance manager, officer. I've just given myself promotion. And I work Merseyside Tech now.
My name is Paul Barmer, and I was at Ruffwood in 1961 through to 1968. I'd just like to say a real big thank you to Ruffwood School, because Ruffwood School at that time in the early 60s really opened my eyes to what was possible, and there were some really great teachers here at that time, some real visionary teachers like David Greenaway and Diana Swindlehurst, and through those people I've gone on to have a career as a television producer and make a lot of films for the BBC and Channel 4 and so on. And it was people like that that opened my eyes to that possibility. I'm really grateful. And Ruffwood was a great place to be. So don't knock Kirby, it's a good place.
I'm Debbie Mother. I left in 1979. I'm a mother of 3. I'm also a grandmother, and I've been working in mental health for 13 years.
I'm Tony Maudsley. I left Ruffwood in 1984. I was there 79 to 84. Had a great time there. I was a bit of a bad boy, but things have come out all right now. And
I'm his less famous brother.
This is my famous brother. I'm an actor now, doing films, TV, stage work, having a great time. Let's say a big thank you to Fred Luty, who sort of got me into the acting game, rescued me from being a bad boy at school and put me onto something good. So, cheers, Fred.
Keeping yourself busy. It's all going down on film prosperity. Don't worry about it, just answer these simple questions.
My name's Susan Ely. I left Ruffwood in 1978. I've got 2 little girls. I was in Fleming and I work in a bank.
I was a caretaker from 1973 till I retired in 1985. I retired in 85, so I had to retire. You know what I mean? I upset quite a few of the staff because I was very... yeah.
Irene Hare. I was 61 to 68 at Ruffwood and I was head girl. And then I taught there from 74 to 82 for 8 years.
It's Henry Stickland. Are you ready? I joined the school in 1959 on the very, very first day that the school ever opened. And I stayed for 25 years. And in all that time, I never met one unkind people. I've been spoiled.
I'm Bess Smith, used to be Bessie Long, left Ruffwood in 1971. I'm a teacher and I was working in Knowsley until April, now I'm in Sefton. And Jenny Watson's going to come and have a word now, and she used to live up my road.
I was Jenny Watson at Ruffwood I was there for 63 to 70, and I still live in Kirby and I'm a teacher here as well. And I was at school with Bessie.
I'm Tony Smullen. I went to Ruffwood between 1980 and 1986. I now live in London and I'm a money broker. With loads of dough! Not really. Not really. But
Got 2 famous siblings.
Hey? I've got my wife's now Vanessa, and she was Essex. She's an Essex bird. And I've got a little daughter now. She's 8.5 months old, Jessie Lee. She's corker.
Sister and your other sister?
My 2 sisters, who also went to Ruffwood, were Joanne, and she was a year behind me, so she was probably 81 to 86 also. I stayed on the extra year before the 6th form kicked me out for being a waste of time. And Sue went to the same year as Diane, and she is now in the smoke, will be living in Ashford, working for Eurostar, now fluent in French and English. You language department people will be pleased to hear. Oh yes.
My name is Diane Cannell.
And I'm Maureen Bella.
And what year did you go to school?
I actually left Ruffwood in 1980.
And I left in 1975, so I'm the older, but you wouldn't guess, would you?
You wouldn't guess. But as time has gone on, we actually work together. Yes.
Where's that?
Wiston Hospital in the Social Services Department.
Do you enjoy your work?
Yes, we enjoy our work very much.
No, we don't. We want to be at school again.
We like to dish out lots of Meals on Wheels and see people on dinners.
I am David Owen, joined 59. I live in Reigate, Surrey. I'm in investment appraisal with a bank. That West Bank, in fact.
Name's Maureen Ely, and I left school in 1981. And I've got 2 children. And I work as a part-time in Kirby as a lollipop lady, and I work part-time as a home carer.
Ruffwood from 1983 to 1995. Tonight is a really, really nostalgic occasion. It's made me understand what I loved about Ruffwood and loved about teaching. and meeting all the kids I was fond of, and some of them actually seem to have liked me.
Ronnie Dixon. I left in 1979. I was teaching in Sackley High up until July of this year, then I took voluntary severance. And now I intend to go into gardening, I hope, with teaching on the side. I think one of the people who's missed here, is Sean Hughes, who died a few years ago. Because we were his protege. You know, you had an A-level class of 35, and all because of Sean Hughes, Andy Pett, Nick Morgan, and I can't remember Rob's surname, but he came as an NQT. I think he ended up as the head of department. And we had laughs. And I remember Bagwash as well. I've been being told off by Paul Bagshaw for not doing an essay for Sean Hughes. And Sean went wild, and I threw the book at him, and I've still got the book. And you had it on the carpet.
It's actually all true.
He had it on the carpet.
Very naughty girl.
Me and Janice Jones.
Yes.
Me and Janice Jones.
One of the naughtiest.
We were terrible. Oh, we hated us.
And she's gone downhill since then.
I'm telling you.
I'm Robbie Cragg. I left in 1971, I think. I was in Darwin. And where's Bob Gillen? And I'm an accountant. Really boring, isn't it? There.
I'm Carol Williams, used to be Carol Boardman. I was at Ruffwood between 67 and 71. Taught French. Assistant head of house at Wedgwood with Alan Paver. Now teach at Range High School in Thornley. And married to Graham, who's also at Ruffwood. And we have 4 children between us.
Vic Mars, Telford House, left in 1970, started teaching in Liverpool A with Eileen Jealous, who used to be the deputy head of the school when I was there, and I'm now deputy head myself in Shropshire. We live in Shrewsbury. Wife Barbara was also at the school. I'm here with my friends. This is Phil Horton. Phil Horton was in Nightingale House. This is Alan Baines. What else were you in, Al?
Shakespeare.
He was in Shakespeare. They weren't very good.
With Mr. Lister.
They weren't very good because Telford used to win everything. But lovely to see you.
I came to Ruffwood in 62 and I left in 72. Okay. What I'm doing now, I'm retired. And I've never been so busy in all my life.
Retired.
Hundreds of years ago.
Hundreds of years ago. Happy now with the fishing rod in my hand. Permanent. Just like salmon and not people. How's that?
Betty Austin. I came to the school as Miss Metcalf in 1959 and I left in 1963. I'm now retired and play lots of golf.
No, I was the Ruffwood class of 68. My name's Les Yeoman. I left in 68. Stop buggers. No. I work in Delco Electronics.
Good sense of humour.
Bad sense of humour. I can't see somebody said I'm not a double player.
Went to Ruffwood 1959 to 1965. Now living in Shorley, just outside Shorley. I've got 2 daughters, 1 baby grandson, and I'm now a nursery nurse and I've been in school for 20 years. Thank you.
I'm Dennis Pickering. I joined Ruffwood in 1961. I write computer software.
We joined Ruffwood in 1981, and here we have Shirley Reddy, Pamela Harrison, Trish Penrose, Nikki Hawkins, and Sharon Mounsey. And they've all got kids, except for me and Nikki, they haven't got kids.
I was housemaster of Shaftesbury, and I'm now retired and enjoying every minute of it.
My name's Jan Dainty. I was in Shackleton House, left in 1981, and at the moment I'm a ward nurse manager in Zacken Hospital.
69 to 75. I now teach at a private school in Tewkesbury. That's all.
Jean Dolby, Shakespeare House. I was one of the first
name's Graham Cutler. I'm head of art at a school in Preston, and I left in 1976, and I was in Nightingale, the best house. Where's Greenaway?
Well said.
My name's Dorothy Hilton. I first joined Ruffwood when Ruffwood was first built, which was 1959-60. I now live in Harbour, just outside Southport, in between Southport and Wigan. I have a daughter and a grandson, and I manage a butcher's shop of all things. I've loved coming here tonight because I've met friends that I've not seen for years, 35 years. It's been very good.
My name is Samantha Katie. I was in Darwin for a couple of years, but we left years ago. I'm married now, got 2 children, work part-time at Asda's, and that's it really.
Hi, my name's John Green. I left Ruffwood in July 1970. I was in Darwin House, and the last housemaster I can remember was Gillen, Mr. Gillen. Nice chap, tall Irish guy, very friendly. When I left Ruffwood, I went straight into the police service. I served for 3 years in Merseyside Police, and then I transferred down to Metropolitan Police. I was retired from the police service in 1992 after having quite a good career. I ended up as a Scotland Yard detective. I was retired due to injury in '92, and I now work for Merseyside Police as a civilian operator on their computers. I enjoyed my time at Ruffwood. Didn't enjoy all the teachers, but I enjoyed my time. Everybody who's watching this, if you're a pupil, education is the best thing you could ever have in your life. Give it all you've got, give it your best shot while you're there.
Kathy Bates, maiden name Patterson. I was in Wedgwood House. I'm about to become childminder.
Hi, I'm Dawn Reeves. Married and living up in Edinburgh. Left in '86. Working a quality control lab up there.
My name's Alan Stevenson, and I was in Telford, and I came in '63 and left in '69.
What are you doing now?
I've got my own business on the European Golf Tour.
My name's Alan Cross. I left a year before him. Did I? Yeah. I still work in the same firm as I left when I left school. I don't own it. I should do, but I don't. I enjoy life. I'm not married. That's why I look so young.
My name's Linda Mackenzie, and I went to school at Ruffwood in 1972 to 77. And I haven't met anybody yet that I went to school with.
Virtual, left in 82 and I work in a sandwich shop. That's it. How do you not know?
Derek Watson, I left in 1975. I was in Shackleton House Block, and I'm a estate agent. That's it.
I'm Alison Handley. I joined in 1981, I think it was, and I left in 1988.
Kathleen Campbell, now Steele, joined Ruffwood, one of the first pupils, 1959 to 1965. Met Prince Philip and received the Duke of Edinburgh's Award from him here at school. Live in Formby, married, 3 daughters. I have a local guide unit in Formby, and I'm the camp advisor for Formby, and I just run an office locally.
Hi, my name's Peter Taylor. I left in 1971. At the time I was in Shackleton House, and now I work for the Ford Motor Company.
I was Beryl Dixon of Shakespeare House, and there was a lot of children in my family, and I was at the school from 1961 until June 1968, and then I went to London University where I took a degree in German and French, and I'm married with 1 son. I've always lived in London since being at university, and I'm head of modern languages at a school near Heathrow, and that's it really.
Hi, my name's Sue Stanhope, nee Carter. This is my husband Miles. I was in Telford from 1978 to 1985. We've now moved to London and I'm in insurance and pensions, and it's great fun. Lots of nice people.
Yeah, my name's Pete Yeoman. My class was the class of 64. I left school in 1969. What am I doing now? I'm the sales manager for an engineering company. That's about it, really. Yeah, would you like to buy something?
My name's Mary Gallagher. I was Mary Grugel. I left Ruffwood in 1972. I now work with EBD children. I'm a swimming teacher and also a teacher's assistant. So I'm still in education, but with different types of children.
Brenda Page. I left school in 1972. I was in Nightingale House and I work in Millbridge School, still in Kirby now.
I used to be in Fleming House Hall, Mr Town. I left in 78. Currently working at Ford Motor Company in the transmission plant. Laser welding technician, which is not too bad, but interesting. And that's basically it.
I left in 1981, I think. I was in Fleming House and I work for Barclays Bank at the moment and I live in Wales.
Hello, my name's Lynn Hayes. I used to be in Shakespeare's Dorman. I now have 4 children. I left school in 1971. I am now a housewife.
My name's Ron Hughes. I was in Darwin House and I left 69-70. I'm now a design consultant for McNeese in London.
My name's Jill Harvey. I was in Shakespeare. I was there from 1970 to 75 and now
My name's Gary Smith. I was in Shackleton House and I left in 1973, and it was the best years of my life. Teachers used to say to me, "You'd regret it." I am. Good night.
Linda Harrison. We're now married. Name's Redding. Got 4 grown-up children. I run my own business. And I live in the Wigan area. And we were the first pupils in the school. And I left at 15.
Peter Harvey. I went to Shakespeare.
Rita White. Maiden name is White. Married name is now Marlon. Married one of the 3 Marlon brothers, Ken. I started in 1968, left in 1974 after completing 1 year only of 6th form. Went on into nurse training and am now nurse research and clinical coordinator at the Royal Liverpool Hospital. Married with 3 children, eldest 2 at university, young one still at home, and a mad dog.
Hi, Dave Williams. I left in 1969. I was in Shaftesbury House and I married my childhood sweetheart, Maureen, who was in...
I was in Redwood House. I left in 1969.
Tell me your name.
Maureen Williams.
What was your name then?
Oh, Maureen Eaton.
And Mr. Corrin, who used to be our math teacher, always used to say, Williams, are you meeting Eaton in the bike sheds? And he was probably right.
Class of 75, was in Fleming, and now we're Ruffwood.
We media people.
lots of reasons, but good reasons.
Can I just say welcome to everyone. I'm really delighted to see so many people here, and what a privilege it is to be here in such a lovely company. And if I could just mention one person at this stage, especially Alan Barnes, and I'm not sure where he's sitting. Right. So, enjoyed a really superb evening last night at the Kirby Suite, where there were, I think, Jeff, 450 people, of whom about 300 were ex-pupils.
Oh, 350 plus.
Right. Lots of ex-pupils came back from 59, the class of 59 upwards, and it really was lovely. And they were so delighted to be there, sharing their memories with us. And they were so pleased to meet so many staff that they had known. And it was also lovely to find out how well they were doing. I was amazed at the stories that they were telling us of what they've done since they left Ruffwood. But now it's the turn for the staff, and I hope you all have a really enjoyable afternoon. At this point, I would like to ask if we could just spend a few moments of quiet reflection to remember all our former colleagues and pupils, governors, parents and friends of the school who are no longer with us. And if we could remember especially this afternoon Mrs. Joan Dunwoody, who was a member of the clerical staff who died sadly just a week ago, and her funeral is tomorrow. But again, especially if we could mention Bill and Marjorie Moss. Bill is quite unwell at the moment. And also John Ogilvy, who is very ill with cancer, and his wife Karen, and both of those had been really looking forward to this weekend.
We had a double-decker, and on that double-decker, in charge was Mr. Alan Barnes. And I put him in charge of the upper deck, which is where my career started to crumble. He thought that he would mingle, you know, man of the people. Sat there. Crushed, bit of a crush on the bus. So he said to a little girl in the first year, "Would you like to sit on my knee?" This was in the days before Chris Woodhead, when you could do that sort of thing. So we're travelling like bats out of hell towards Liverpool, and this little girl looks in Alan's eyes and said, "Are you Mr. Hans?" And he said, "Yes." And she said, "I get sick on buses." He said, "Really, my dear? What did you have for your tea?" She said, "Egg and chips." Well, he put her down on the seat and went and took control of the lower deck. When we got to the Everyman, we pulled up outside the theatre, and he saw everybody off the bus, made sure that the bus was off. But you remember the hat, right? The famous hat. And he had, I don't know if he probably still has that way when he's getting off the bus of taking the hat off. And out of the brim of the hat fell about 60 ciggy stubs. Because all the lads on the top deck had been playing 25 points if you can get it right in the top of the hat. But only 25 points if it lands in the rim around the side. So we got into the theatre. And we were expecting the theatre to be empty. And there were these 12 unfortunate people in the theatre who were expecting the theatre to be full. We hadn't been told that Rushworth and Draper, as they used to be called, always sold 12 tickets. So 12 people who thought they were booking for an ordinary night at the theatre were sitting there at 29 minutes past 7 wondering where the rest of the audience were. And the doors opened. And we had 400 people to thank Joe Lawson's mum for making this wonderful cake. This cake has not been actually cut, although we pretended to. We're going to take it into school so that all the staff can see the cake and enjoy it later in the week. So thanks very much. Where's Jill? Right, can you tell Mum that it's an absolutely beautiful job? Do come and have a look at it. It's got the crests, the 4 crests on the side, and the stag on the top. It's beautiful. I'd like to say a very special thanks to my mate, Keith Tomlinson. I didn't know very much about this guy until about 3 or 4 months ago. I knew he was a bit of a sort of a mover and a shaker. You sort of always saw him in school, but he said he wanted to be involved in this, and he really has stood shoulder to shoulder with me for 3 months. He has matched my effort pound for pound. It has been fantastic to work with him. He is a really tremendous example of community support for the school. Now, we have had in mind for a number of years the idea of beginning a roll of honour for past pupils who have excelled themselves in the services to the community in a number of ways. And although this is a total surprise to you, sir, doing the Eamon Andrews or whatever that is the case in this, I'd like you to sort of go over to Mrs. Sandra Sim and accept Ruffwood's first ever nomination for the Roll of Honour. Your certificate is with the head teacher. I also must say thank you to Elaine for... Yeah, I know, I'll be brief, I won't embarrass you, but thank you. You can have your husband back now. Enough said, you can have your husband back now for a few months. Okay, thank you. I must say thank you to Alison, my secretary, who typed all the letters that you received over the summer. Thank you very much, darling, for your support. Lighting my way. To Jenny, my wife, who put the display together, hours of work, painstaking. Thank you very much for your support, Jenny. I'd ask you to accept this bunch of flowers on behalf of the school. And if anybody says, why didn't you buy your daughter a present? She took me shopping when we were on holidays. She wanted hers in advance. And we were out in Greece. Right, wonderful man. And I thought to myself, what can you do for a guy who does everything for you and yet he's got all the gizmos? What could you buy, Paul? He showed me around his place on Monday last, you know, all the flashing lights and the computers and the tellies and whatever. He's got the lot. But he gave me a clue. The one thing in life that he hasn't got. Baggy. Baggy, thank you for all your solid support. And I've got 2 tickets for the Theatre of Dreams and I'm taking you to the game. I'm not joking. I've got 2 tickets and we're going, pal. Manchester United. Okay.
Jack Benny once said, I don't deserve this. But then I've got arthritis and I don't deserve that either.
Over 50 people sent in items of memorabilia for the display. Thank you very much to all of you. We are doing our very best to protect it and make sure that it eventually gets back to you intact. Not an easy job. On your tables, there's a little notice saying how you can help further. If you've got a bit of time that you could use to put into that, we'd love to hear from you. I'd like to thank our major sponsors this weekend. I asked for a couple of sponsors because I wanted to produce nice programs. On your table, you've all got a program for today, and last night's program, there's 1 copy on each table in case you weren't able to make it last night. Beautifully printed, by the way, by RTS. That's what you used to call the Banda machine back in the 60s. We now call it the most wonderful printing press on Merseyside, which we've got actually as a limited company working on our school sites, giving us preferential rates because of their sort of site within us. If you've got any printing to do, if you're looking for a printer, these guys are wonderful. Look at the quality on the programme, fantastic. I was looking for two sponsors. I was overwhelmed to get 9 major sponsors for the weekend. It meant that we could really make it special and have the display lit and so on. Barclaycard, the Littlewoods organisation, Walton Vale Insurance, S&L Soft Drinks, they're the people who deliver the lemonade on the doorsteps in Kirby. Delco Electronics, of which Paul Milburn, former pupil, is now the managing director. He'll be hearing more from us. The Henry Bath Organisation, Contract Chemicals, and ABSEC. We also had wonderful sponsorship from Halliwell Jones BMW dealers. Phil Jones is with us as a guest this afternoon, former pupil of the school, 92, and a tremendous example of what our children can aspire to. I'd like to ask you please to accept from Mrs. Sim, the Ruffwood School, a roll of honour to congratulate you on what you've achieved in the University of Life. Many of the syndicates in the various staff rooms which do the lottery on a Saturday evening actually get a major win. I'll give you Phil's address because he's Halliwell Jones BMW dealer. Posh cars. Thank you. Many firms also came across with raffle prizes. We had a television. We had a child's racing car last night. We had many other prizes. The profit on the raffle last night was £1,200. A number of staff in particular for their support. Sandra Taylor for arranging today's floral decorations. Thank you very much, Sandra. The room looks absolutely brilliant, and thank you for your help there. Judy Bessie for the place cards. That lovely handwriting. Thank you very much, Judy. Beautiful. I'd like to thank Glenn and Christine for their support, and I promise I'll start teaching again on Tuesday. Okay? I promise.
On behalf of everybody here, and everybody back at school, and everybody who was there last night, Jeff, we thank you very, very much for what you've done. We know you've spent over a year getting ready for this, from the original thought to what's been an absolutely superb weekend, and something that we will always remember. So we have something to give you, Jeff, as a token of our thanks. Afraid not.
Not this time, although I haven't been known to do that.
And I'd like to hand over to Keith Tomlinson just before June speaks.
Last night, and as he's done against me today, Jeff surprised me with different things. But the one thing he did surprise me with since May when I got involved was how determined we've been to make this a success. And albeit it is a team effort, and we've all worked very hard. Without Jeff and Jenny, this would not have been possible. So from me, basically, for the rest of us, for a personal thing, trying to bring them up into the 90s. I've rang Jeff on numerous occasions, and when Alison, not following you, beautiful lady, is on the internet, the phone's permanently engaged. I said to him, but you've got another line, put a telephone answering machine on.
Light, be witty, and be brief. Right. Light I can do, no problem. I've never said anything of consequence in my life to anyone. Witty I find very difficult in ordinary, in some formal sense, as it were. And brief is totally impossible, so I'm afraid your guesses, as Jeff said, may be totally out. As a very young female member of staff, it was Mrs. Walker that struck me. Not quite literally, but we were all petrified of her. She was the very first senior mistress, and that says a lot, that title in itself. But she once walked round for a full week in hiking boots because she was breaking them in. And of course, and this of course was, I mean, she wasn't in trousers, because if you turned up in trousers, you got sent home. Alan sent you home if you turned up in a trouser suit. And so she walked around with these really big hiking boots on, and she had a cold. And into her lapel was, "I have lost my voice." You know, the kids would mutter as she went past, but so would we. Well, they were not then, you know. Because really, we were absolutely petrified of the woman. Nobody could say anything. But she did give the phrase "madam" to the female members of staff, so I shall leave it at that. And the other gentleman I remember is Sam Smith. Now, in those days, and this goes back a bit, you know, you could drive a car on a motorbike licence as long as your car didn't have reverse. Now Sam had a Robin Denials with the reverse blocked off. And we once went on a car rally, and well, he was really only interested in the beer at the other end. He didn't really want to follow the trail or whatever. And he decided he would just follow John Winstanley and a few of us in one car driving along. And John said, "I'll get the beggar." And every time we came to a turn, John shot past it and then reversed. Sam had to get out of his car, lift the front end, move it round. That's not the way of doing it. So the air was blue when he finally did arrive at the thing at the end. And I'm still on machines. In one of the early days, there was this huge group on the car park, kids, staff, all was alike. And we were looking at this very strange machine. Didn't it have little wheels? How did anybody get into it? Wouldn't it get blown over? Ladies and gentlemen, that was the very first Mini. Mini Pennington had a Mini, and that was the very first Mini we've ever seen. It was just so strange, it was unbelievable in those days. Now, Penny sends her love. She's not here today, because just as she had strange cars then, she's at this very minute transporting a grand piano to Greece. I don't know why, but she is. So there we are. So that's that. And again, in a sense, still with machines, the other thing that always strikes us is traction rallies. Somebody had this bright idea to raise money by having rallies with, well, steam-driven machines, really, steamrollers. Now, we were 3 feet deep in mud. It rained. Have you ever tried pushing a steamroller out of the mud at Haydock Park? Peter Gaskell was going hairless. He was putting railway sleepers down and straw down. Virtually, I think he'd thrown us in front of it if it would have stopped this machine sinking. And we did one at Lowton and we did one at Haydock, and we were all absolutely exhausted after those, and the rallies became memorable. Peter should have been with us today, sends his love and apologies. He rang me 8:30 this morning. His granddaughter was taken into hospital overnight, and they'd spent the night at the hospital. So he asked to be remembered, and as I say, he sends his love, being Gwendon. So it's nice to think of those. I was in Fleming and Nightingale, so it was East Block that was... so in a sense, that's possibly where most of the stories are coming from. Because I well remember Mike Anderson, I don't know, he was pouncing about with a glass of muscadet. A glass of muscadet, Mike. And Judy Chappelle came in, banged the door, knocked it flying, knocked the glass flying. All the air was blue, out of all proportion to this minor accident. And they all were sort of most nonplussed at this. And then they walked in the day afterwards and announced their engagement. So they're very happy, and they're in America, so that's why they're not here. So I'm sorry about that. And talking of broken things, the other thing I remember was Brian Stevens, who bought this totally indestructible mug. Now, we came carrying it, this wonderful mug. We said, it's break, everything gets broken here. No, it won't, and he threw it against the wall, and it smashed us in the So that was Brian. And whenever he had a conversation with her in the tutor block, in the house block, the place reeked, it smelled, it really did. And we didn't like this at all. We could see her coming. And John said, I shall take an executive decision. I shall converse with her through the casement. And for 2 years he spoke to her through the window. Very nice. So built it really. You know, all this business about health and safety executive and cost regulations and so on. No, but we don't have a door there. So we just hit it with a hammer and the door appeared. It was a little bit like that, really. And you know, we nearly had a barge instead of outside. We did. It was very much a toss-up as to whether it was a barge or whether it was outside. She's turned 70 now, and by God, she'd still look good in the swimming costume. So there we are. So the barge idea fell through, and the station came into being. So it's some lovely memories of those days, and as Sandra said last night, it's the children you remember. The names still roll off the tongue of those early children, and they're young men and women, and who are now well into their 50s, of course. So people who were grandmas, there were people who had children at university. It was an absolute joy to talk to them. And the names, some of those that weren't there, you know, David Phillips and Pat Schmidt and June and George Jones and Billy Self, who walked his feet off at a sponsored walk, addressed his blisters like nobody's business, and Ronnie Rotherham, and netball teams, Diane Cannell and Irene Harper, and all. And I'm going to close, so you can start on your decks again, because we, in a sense, thought we were pioneers. I just wanted to say to a town in England whose secondary education had been nothing but comprehensive. No thing and no one is indispensable, but some things and some people and some memories are irreplaceable. That's it.
There's a famous school they call Ruffwood that's noted for fresh air and fun.
And teachers with plenty of pupils who say that their work is never done.
But this story tells nothing of learning. It harks back to a time long ago.
Of long hair and big ties and flared trousers.
The second decade of the Alan Barnes show. Yes, our story takes place in the 70s, when platforms were thick on the ground.
And tank tops were worn with a flourish, and ABBA were our favourite band.
But Ruffwood preferred its own talent. A musician that decade was born.
With guitar and a shirt that were matching, we thought he'd take Europe by storm.
Paul Batshaw wrote songs about Ruffwood. Each house block was given its own ditty.
But when votes were phoned in and counted, nil one, they said, what a pity.
Fundraising was then quite a challenge. The tuck shop made thousands each day.
So what if the kids' teeth were rotten and the tucky monster John Hyde would say?
But Mike Talbot gave healthier options. Jacket spuds were sold by the score.
But he never raised money for Ormside.
House charities was what he did. Sports Day saw us down at the stadium when everyone, the blind, the lame, the halt, had to join in.
2,000 pupils, their parents and teachers, each wanting to see their house win.
Remember St. Chad's Christmas concerts, when the women were always the stars?
Male staff never joined in the worship.
They
were outside guarding the cars.
More talent appeared to astound us. The school had its own blonde bombshell.
PE was his favourite subject. The women were soon under his spell.
Dave Newton took over at Shakespeare. With Clem Raymond, they made quite a team.
To raise money for South Box House charities,
their concerts became a regular scene. To counteract all this frivolity, Brian Jones became head of RE.
And soon put a stop to such nonsense. We'll get back to basics, he said.
A17 was his classroom and pulpit. He preached from it ably and bold.
Good Eustace became a great favourite. Well, it's been standing around in the cold.
Now the history department objected. They lived in A10, we should say.
They didn't like Protestant scripture. Being Catholics, they knew the right way.
So one day, singing Faith of Our Fathers, they appeared with their leader, Sean Hughes.
And blessed Brian with their own holy water, and sprinkled some more on his pews.
You could tell that the head didn't like this. He took an almighty deep breath
and closed down all religion at Ruffwood, saying, "You have only prepared them for death."
He took off to the cricket pavilion, his first love, you all will agree.
When he wasn't cheering on Arsenal, then that team with their sponsors, JVC.
But the 70s cricket was average when compared with the teas that were served. Brenda Dixon did all of the catering.
Each got the dessert they deserved.
Our leaders back then were so many. 8 housemasters paving the way.
With assistants and heads of departments, and 4 deputies holding their great sway.
Brian Donnelly,
Paul Hope,
Alan Paver,
June Phillips
were there to show right from wrong.
But the head surprised all these leaders.
When from Harold he at last got his gong.
Alan Barnes came to Ruffwood with a vision. He bulldozed his way through the school.
But as pupils, we look back quite fondly on 7 years when under his rule.
We'd like you to toast the staff of the 70s.
Who refer to such times there with glee.
In particular, pause and remember
Alan Barnes,
MA,
JP,
CDE.
Could you please thank Barry and Billy for being able to... I will send you details of the video and how much it will cost you not to be on it. One copy of the video will be going to a great friend of ours who sadly can't be here because he's on his holidays. Paul and I shared a day when we were putting ideas together a couple of weeks ago for the final touches of the day, and he reminded me of what a little lad said to him about Alan when he arrived at the school in those 70s. And he said, "Who's that Chinaman?" Or "Who's that big Chinaman?" And guess where Alan's gone for his holidays? Peking. Alan, you're getting a copy of this video. This bit's going to be on it. We raise our glasses to you, a loyal servant of the school, to Alan Paver. Cheers, Alan Paver.
Now, it's funny, when you look back on a period of time of huge significance, the 1980s at Ruffwood School, you tend to remember the minutiae, the small things. I don't know whether this is a small thing, but I'm going to start with a word about chess. This is not chess under that lovely man Vic Paulus, but it is under a man, almost literally, of whom I'm very fond, and I don't want you to think this is in any way, oh, I'm wasting my breath here, one or two things about chess. Chess moved to East Block. I think they would have moved it to Rockhall. And of course, when you're in an outpost and everybody's there because it's raining and you can't tell a knight from a prawn, you know. So there was a hotline in the chess room, and if John had problems, John said had problems, he'd ring Alan Paver, who would be in a meeting. It wasn't until the phone went, you know, this in a meeting, it's one word, not 3 words, in a meeting. And so he phoned Paul Hope. I can't tell you what Paul Hope said. Briefly summarised, it was no. So having got that, he'd then ring me. And of course, being compassionate, caring, an absolute devotee of pastoral care, I'd say, oh, sod this, and I'd go along to East Block. And it was nearly always the same. John was against the door. To prevent any exit. And he'd already got halfway along the road of retribution. Because it wasn't just a missing bishop. I don't know why the clergy are always involved. It wasn't just a missing bishop, it was a missing bishop and nobody's leaving till it's found. Well, you just love those, don't you? And I'll give you a tip, because you know, next week you might be in just the same position. What you do, you say, I know what's happened here. Somebody's planted it in somebody else's bucket. There's some naughty folk around, aren't there? I see. So we all look in our pockets to see if somebody's planted it. Now, I'll tell you, it works once. So don't use it up on triviality. It's got to be a really big problem. You know, it's like the neutron bomb. Once you've sent it, you know, you've had it. Now, John and I got quite close. I don't mean when he sat on somebody. No, it's different. Won't tell that one. But he said to me, I think he thought it was something of a reward for my kindness. He said, would you like to come on a chess trip with me? Now, this wasn't... It wasn't a fixture. This was a reward for the 18,000 kids who played chess for Ruffwood that year. And where did we go? I came from Southport. Where do you think we went? So, came into Ruffwood, Kirby Station, off to Sandhills, throw stones at people. And we get off at Kirkdale. Now, I don't know why this is. We get off at Kirkdale. But I think, okay, nothing to do with me. He's in charge. I'm just... And we get one of these long single-deck buses from Birkdale to the Botanic Gardens, our destination. And there aren't many other people on the bus, apart from frightened and poor victims and so on. And they're all round John. See, when we get there, when we get there. Don't worry. And he said, don't worry, it won't be long. And I'm standing there, looking nonchalant, and then I see at the back a neighbour. With his wife. This is a neighbour who's at primary school with me, Peter Ryan. And I think, oh God. So I think, I know what I'll do. I'll pretend I'm not with this. Now here's another tip. When you pretend you're not with a group, you don't look as though you're not with the group. You look as though you're pretending not to be with the group. So when it takes Peter to stop, and we're all standing there and asking all our questions, he walks past with his wife, and as he passes me, he just puts his mouth in my ear and says, you poor sod. So it didn't work. So we went to the Botanic Gardens, we had a lovely time. John was very generous and he bought them all ice cream and so on. And then they went rowing. Now, the boats, this is very short, let me finish. The boats are very short. You remember Flash Gordon and those rocket ships shaped like bullets? Well, the boats are like that, sort of tubby things. And these kids are rowing back and forth. Hello, sir! And you see one go past it. Hello, sir! And I look down and they're rowing it backwards. Which means you need about 180% more effort to make it move. And I'm just about to say, just a minute, you're rowing it back? And I think, hello! The other thing I remember about the 80s is excuses. Now, people say, oh, you teachers make these things up, but we know they're real. I remember being in West Block in the early time, and the phone went, I picked it up, and this voice said, hello, And I said, hello. Joe Daddy won't be in today because he's sick. And I said, who's that speaking? It's me dad. Don't you just love naivety? Don't you warm to it? So I said, right, Mr. Harding, well, thank you for phoning. Will you pass a message to George from me? Yeah. And then he went, sure. Yeah. Will you tell him that if he isn't in school in 5 minutes, I'm coming to get him? Yeah, okay. Now, others are face to face. Now, if you look around here, there are two people. I want to say a word about Charlie Makinson, bless him. Now, look after him, because he's been at sea for about 40 years. Actually, some people spend months developing lip. Charlie had a limp thrusted on him. Friday, no limp. Monday, a real and for week after week after week, the same limp. Not the same leg. And of course he got it, he put an arm lock on his doctor and all this sort of thing. And he got his early retirement. And I think it must have been the excitement of early retirement that cured the limp. And we wish him well. And the other, John Hyde, the Tucky Monster, now not here, but John used to have a habit on the last day of every term of having quite a lot to drink in the house block. So by the time he got up to the top gym, he was, and I can remember, can you remember Alan? Making an address on the state of the nation, and John saying, "Good on you, boss, you tell him." And I seem to remember Alan saying, "Is there an echo in here?" And I think Jeff's organisational ability is such, I think he could make a fair stab at Senior Prize Day. Having done it for 12 consecutive years. Yes, you can laugh. The only problem with Senior Prize, you have the usual thing. You send your letter out, 10% say I'm coming, 10% say I'm not, and 80% you've no idea. But at the end of it, you get a note from BA. And it's always the same sort of note. It says, I thought it went rather well on the whole, and I'm grateful for your efforts. Just a few points. Followed by 3 sides of A3 in green ink. The other problem with prize days is the unexpected things people say. I mean, I was standing at Stan Sutcliffe, this 6th form girl came up, he gave us a certificate, and he said, "What are you going to do when you leave school?" And she said, "Well, I'd thought of going straight home, actually." I find it too difficult to pay tribute to Alan. I think all I can say is, in some respects, we and the people who were there last night are testimonies to his excellence. I can't think of a more rewarding occupation than being at this school, a comprehensive in one of the most underprivileged and unfashionable parts of the country, which did produce excellence. And for a long time, parents from middle-class areas, professionals, fought to get their children into this school. Now, I don't know how many neighbourhood comps could say that. And, of course, this is the result of the efforts of many, many, many people. But just as with Manchester United, we look back to Matt Busby, we look to Alan Barnes as the one who made us achieve more than we thought we could do. And Ruffwood's present mission statement reflects that to some extent. And for that, I'm sure we are all exceedingly grateful, not just rationally, but emotionally as well. We have come out of this, not just the boys and girls, but we have come out of our association with his school better people, and we shall never forget. Finally, you've all lost them. Well, actually, I'm particularly worried about Alan because he had a flood in his library last week. Both books were destroyed. And he coloured only one of them. I'm quite pleased that he decided to stay with me for his visit to the northwest. He stayed with me last time, God knows why he came back. And we had a nice breakfast, didn't we? And I went to do one or two bits and pieces like this nonsense. When I came back, there was a piece of green paper which said, I thought on the whole, breakfast went well. Just one or 2 points. So, none of this makes much sense of the 1980s, does it? But nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to toast the staff of Ruffwood School in the 1980s.
I prepared a few little notes here, which I'm not going to read out, because you can't follow back short. I remember when I was first appointed to Ruffwood School in 1989, one of the first public events I ever attended was the Leavers Assembly at the end of 1989, which was totally dominated by Paul's address. And I remember thinking to myself, God, you'd really have to pity somebody who went on after that. And 10 years later, what do I find? One member of staff who's been mentioned repeatedly this afternoon is Alan Faver. And when I first came to Ruffwood, Alan Faver was something of a mentor for me. You come across people, and you're comparing notes about careers and stuff, and it finds out that either they've been to Ruffwood, or they've worked with somebody who's been to Ruffwood, or they know somebody who's worked with somebody who's been at Ruffwood. Whether we like it or not, we're famous. And I do say famous rather than infamous. Because, you mention Ruffwood to people and their eyes light up. I don't know quite what it is about our school that does that, but it's a very nice feeling to have. Especially for me, because when I started at Ruffwood School, has to be said, it was not going through one of its best periods. It was once described to me by a quite senior figure in the authority as a school which was in danger of losing its way. And for those of us who were there in the early 1990s, Paul's been very diplomatic, but let's face it, in the early 1990s, it was not a nice time. In many ways, it was not a nice place to be. The staff of the 1990s, and Paul's already alluded to this, were faced with the challenge of rebuilding and restoring the school to its former greatness. It was a decade of challenge. Challenge in the classroom, challenge levels, challenge in insects. It was certainly very challenging for me. My abiding memories of my early days at Ruffwood School were having what seemed like half the school queued up outside my office. And it was pretty tough on many occasions at Ruffwood in the 1990s. But the staff got going, and the results are down there for all to see. One of the most improved schools in the country. Brilliant Ofsted 2 reports. Why did we get that success? There are obviously many reasons. John Jones's leadership, to name but one. But for me, there is one fundamental reason for that transformation of the school, and that is the quality of the staff who work there.
Day one, curvy kid, stood in my room, looking out of those windows, Alan, and a fight broke out. Now you know, and I know what it's like when a fight breaks out at Ruffwood. There were kids pouring from every bloody hole in the school, running towards the entertainment. And I thought, what do I do now? And then I heard this voice behind me, and it was Frank. And he said, Zulus, sir, thousands of them. Now he's a film buff, and I knew the scene in the film. So while these two kids were turning each other to bits, I simply said, why are we here, Sergeant Major? He said, because we are, sir, because we are. I said, yes, but why us, Sergeant Major? He said, nobody else, sir, nobody else. And we ran as fast as we could. And he's right, when we got there, the staff had sorted it. He actually said to me once when I said, it's tough this, isn't it, Frank? I mean, St. Kevin's was tough, but this is tough. This is wild. This is bandit country. So we wrote to his parents, and his mum wrote back and she said, I sent our Frank to your school to be learnt, not smelt. And what really impressed me about the staff at Ruffwood was we decided to have a briefing in the morning because the day just sort of began. And I'm stood there and I thought, well, I really ought to be part of this. So we decided to have a briefing. And one of my first briefings went like this. There'll be an assembly today in Shakespeare Darwin House. And the sniper in the flats. And nobody batted a bloody eye. I was impressed by it. I said, the police have given us some advice. Their recommendation is not to arrest the sniper, but will you please park your cars with the windscreen facing school, because you can't drive without the rear one. And the staff went, sound, yeah. There'll be no heating in West Rock. Because this is true, the heating engineer has run off to Gretna Green with a clerical assistant from the Education Office. Now that got a bit of a ripple. The outbreak of dysentery. The rumour that I'm about to install a sheep dip at the front gate is not true. Now, I tell that when I'm delivering in service, and people think I'm joking. And you know, and I know, that I'm not. And I suppose really, as now the ex-head of this great school, I feel a bit like the American general in Saigon who called a press conference to talk about how well the war was going. And you could hear the Viet Cong rifle fire in the street behind him, and he said, the future is not what it was. And so, I feel a little bit like that general. One member of staff at Ruffwood when I arrived said, it's a tale of sex, drugs, debauchery and violence, Ruffwood School, and then the kids arrive. And when I talk, and I'll say a little bit about the future, then I'll shut up because this is the graveyard slot. But one of the things as an ex-St. Kevin's boy that amazed me is I watched the future of St. Kevin's being driven away in lorries up Ruffwood Drive. And that saddened me. Because we always used to win the snowball fights, and we always used to and we always battered you in the woods at lunchtime. And that bally fella used to come out and try and catch you. I'm glad Sledgy wasn't there, I tell you. And this is Kirby, isn't it? I got a phone call in the first week, watching St. Kevin's disappearing lorries, heaped lorries of rubble. And this guy lived in the 6th floor in Maple. He said, are you the head? I said, yeah. Now that is different from a parent who I used to know at St. Kevin's, who used to ring up reception and say, is the gobshite there? And the receptionist would say, no, Mr. Jones is out at the moment. It used to upset me. But this man rang in and said, you know, those lorries going up Ruffwood Drive? I said, yeah. He said, well, they're arriving full. I said, what? He said, I'm on the 6th floor here, they're arriving full. And what was happening is, the builder who got the contract knows that he'd paid for him to have one of these rubble makers, whatever they're called. So he decided, this is a good scam. So he's bringing all his rubble from other jobs to St. Kevin's, crushing it, adding a little bit on the top, and it took about 2 years to take this building away. And of course, that is Kirby, and that is the beauty of Kirby, where the line between what is legal and illegal is always hard to find. We don't call it thieving, we call it the black market economy. But a friend of mine, because I'm a Catholic, did say that in Holy Angel's Church, it's full of confessional night, it's full of thieves. And apparently they have 24 confessional boxes, and the first one has 8 items or less. What's I going to talk about, Jeff? The future. I'll tell you this. The future of Ruffwood School is in great hands. When you sit in the Cabinet Office in 10 Downing Street and the Prime Minister says to you across that Cabinet table, what is it like to be the leader of such a great school? You'd know that things are getting better. And when we were named by Chris Woodhead in the most improved list of schools in the country, the accolade that was to the staff in the 90s and how they pulled the school around speaks for itself. I mean, when we came in the 90s, about a dozen kids got 5 A to C's. This year that was 60. 35% of the kids were leaving in the early 90s with nothing, basically. That's now down to 15%. 35% of the kids got 5 A to G's. That's now up to almost 80%. And if you look along or drive along County Road and you see the David Lloyd Tennis Centre and Delco Electronics and all those new factories and new builds, you know that not only is Ruffwood's future bright, but the whole of the future of Kirby is bright. And as a Kirby kid, it does fill me with such pride when I see that kind of investment and that kind of achievement. We've worked hard on attendance. God knows we've worked hard on attendance. We don't fiddle the figures like you used to, Alan. But of course you didn't. The house leaders tell me about the league table for attendance. We've now got it up to around about the mid-80s, which I think is about what it was in the heyday back in the 60s. Well, one member of the senior staff did actually say, what we should do is pay them to come in. Which is, and I said, well, how much? He said, well, about 50 pence a week. And another member of the senior staff said, that's a great idea as long as they don't all turn up. And one kid was actually stopped by one of the policemen behind the flats. And he said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm doing my bit to reduce class sizes, sir. It was brilliant. And what I can say is this. We have slain for good, and we've completed the work that many of the old staff started. And that is, we've slain 2 beasts. One is low expectation, and the other is excuse culture. They're now dead in Kirby and in Ruffwood. So we hope we've completed the work that all of you, under Alan's leadership, began many years ago. Thanks for listening.
I'd just like to call upon Sandra to collect this bouquet of flowers from John as a symbolic gesture. To hand over the flowers. Thank you very much. We have had an absolute wealth of riches this weekend, and I still have one here in my hands. The support from the community, the business community, has been wonderful. This won't be very meaningful to absolutely everybody here, but it'll be absolutely heart-stopping to some people. It depends really whether you're into golf. I have here a wonderful piece of paper. This voucher entitles you to attend the next round of the Halliwell Jones BMW Invitation Golf Tournament, which will be held at Royal Birkdale during August 2000. The winner of which will attend a fabulous 3-day trip to take part in the UK final of this event, which will be held at Turnberry. So if you get through the first round, you go to Turnberry. And I believe if you're into golf, that makes your knees start to knock. following which the winners will attend the Grand European Final at the top European golf venue.
And I've never been so convinced that a creditably high proportion of the decisions that were made between 1959 and 1987 were correct ones which pointed in the right direction. I echo the nice things to be said by people who did have time to prepare about those people here today, about the staff who are not here, about those who have passed on, going back to the very beginning. And that meant a very great deal, I'm sure, to all of you, but also, and you'll forgive me, most of all, probably, to me, because I have things about part in secondary. So let me just say that I really am not going to try to compete with the splendidly humorous but telling contributions we've had from a variety of directions. It would be foolish of me to do so. I haven't got any new jokes. I've had a marvellous weekend. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I hope somehow, though these things can't go on forever, that something else happens before too long again. I hope to survive to play some small part. Thank you again.